submission.
Thank you.
So we've got South Brighton Residents Association. There's two of them. Yep. Welcome.
Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm Hugo Christensen, Chair of the South Brighton Residents Association, and Jan Burney is sitting in here for our Secretary, Séamus. This is the submission from the South Brighton Residents Association to the annual plan. Once again, the annual plan, like the 5 previous plans, does nothing to address the discrimination against our suburb. The failure to document and remediate earthquake damage, in particular erosion, subsidence, lateral spreading and flooding, continues to add to the threats to the community well-being. The cost-sharing agreement between Council and Government included a commitment to comply with the National Civil Defence Emergency Management Plan. Pursuant to the latter, risk and hazard should be assessed and managed in accordance with international risk standards. The cost-sharing agreement also included the Three Waters report in addressing the dangers to health, safety, and the environment in connection with drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater. Then I have to add that this also includes the groundwater. These risks have not been responded to in our area since the 2011 earthquakes. Council commissioned a Jacobs multi-hazard report under the Land Drainage Recovery Programme, number 97. This now consists of a collection of outdated information, since it misreports the current land elevation, the flood risk and erosion risk in South Brighton. This is similar misreporting as the 50-year flood mapping error that Council admitted to in 2016. The effects which have still not been remediated. We have pointed out on numerous occasions, South Brighton has been deprived of proper, up-to-date hazard assessment and the urgency required mitigation measures. We also have drawn Council attention to persistent breaches of human rights resulting from this, specifically the rights to housing and health and the right to democracy. According to the Tonkin and Taylor Coastal Hazard Report, there are 6,000 properties now exposed to erosion and subsidence. The former risk is not insured under the EQC Act, and it's also excluded from all private insurance policies. In short, these properties are not insurable. Banks have indicated that they will foreclose on properties if cover is withdrawn or if the insurance premium becomes unaffordable. Neither Civil Defence nor the Ministry for the Environment has been properly informed about the actual risk that people are facing in our suburb. It also appears that the Insurance Council of New Zealand has been misinformed in the same way. Since insurance company hazard maps show no flood risk in our area, the flood risk is assumed to be exactly the same as it was before the earthquakes. This is also reflected in the fact that risk-based planning approach has failed to address the highest risk in coastal areas of Christchurch. Taken together, this constitutes a systematic discrimination amongst the most vulnerable of your ratepayers. And to add insult to injury, a system of adaptive planning or adaptive management has been introduced with a planned failure of policy to address risk, followed by a stress test on the people affected. The policies and mandatory guides and legislation that have been systematically failed to mitigate risks facing this minority group include the New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement, the Resource Management Act, New Zealand Civil Defence Emergency Management Plan, the Marine and Coastal Area Act, Soil Conservation and Rivers Act, and much more. Why is it that this has allowed to happen? And why have our repeated protests on these matters to both Christchurch City Council and the Community Board been systematically ignored? And what is Council going to do to address this?
That's
Yep. Welcome questions, answers.
for sure. Just the picture that you've got on page 77. Oh, sorry, it's 77 on ours. 236.
That's the submission number.
Yeah, page. Oh, I can't. Your presentation isn't page numbered. You've got a picture in summary, 2008, 2013, the two pictures. Yes, it's page 77 of our agenda, but that's not much use for.
Can you show?
Yeah. So just the two pictures.
Yep.
It's got.
Yep, I am familiar with this.
It's
yes.
showing the impact of the difference, but where is the photo taken? Because they don't look like they're taken from the same place.
They are taken from the same spot at the end of Kibblewhite Street. This is, you can see the image from 2008 on Google Earth, if you go back in history, and you can see that there were no stop banks there before the earthquakes. The image in 2013 was taken with a camera while the stormwater pond was put in place there. At that point in time, the height of the stop banks was in excess of 1.2 meters. This actually shows the damage, the actual land damage that has occurred there. This is both tectonic subsidence, because there are significant fault lines underneath this area, and it's also liquefaction related, because the most significant lateral spreading quantified in Christchurch was measured at this point and the opposite point of the river.
Okay. They just don't look familiar, that's all. But anyway, that's fine. That's the end of Kibblewhite Street.
Yeah, if you look at Google Earth, go back in history and see what was there before the earthquakes, this is exactly what you see. There are no stop banks there.
Yeah, no, I understand that, yeah.
Yep.
Sarah?
Thank you very much. So we've heard from another submitter today on similar issues, and I'm just wondered if you had seen the CCAU pre-adaptation strategy and whether you were in favour of that approach. I know there's some overlap. The specific area you're talking about is part of that other one, but it's...
Yeah, I disagree with that approach, because we have the earthquakes, we have the cost sharing agreement, we have budgets, multiple budgets that we've seen around us, which have then disappeared, and after sit we with all the problems, and the rest of New Zealand with adapting to future sea level rise, which is totally different to what we are faced with here. And the cost sharing agreement, Council has obligations under that, and our risk, our land damage has not been documented properly. The multi-hazard report consists of incorrect information.
Just check though, because there's is saying that what we want is we want the earthquake stuff done first,
An absolute
and then
priority.
we want to do the adaptation work, and that's what they're
Yes,
strategy is.
but this has to be separated. These are separate budgets, and budget is
Yeah.
exactly what we are talking about here.
Yeah.
So, taking, we are dealing with one area which has sunk and another area that has lifted.
Yeah.
Averaging that out is not going to bring balance. We need the areas that are exposed to this risk, which have lost 50, 70, 100 years of elevation or sea level rise, that these are the people that need to be taken care of. That's where we see fatalities due to stress and hazard exposure.
Cool, thanks.
Look, thank you. I'm sorry that we've come to the end of the time for the presentation, but we do appreciate it. I know that you've been through an incredible amount of stress, and we are working on all of the issues that you've raised. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Can I say one more thing?
No, I'm sorry. I have to stick to the rules, or else.
I would encourage you to go there when there are events like the one we had just a few days ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
bring little children and put them in front of the stop banks. It's not recommended, but it gives you a face of reality.
Yes, no. Yeah. No. Oh, Hugo, the other councillors probably don't know that we've had a meeting, and that we're going to let you know when the paper is coming to council that's going to deal with South Shore, South Brighton, which will be next Thursday. So there will be an opportunity to come and make a deputation to the council.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but
Yeah.
Honestly, after all these years,
Yeah, I know.
there's not much
I know.
hope left.
I know.
Because this is constant.
I understand
delay,
that, but it was just one of the councillors wanted to make sure that you had been advised, as we have advised others, that is happening next week.
Yep, but these stop banks, they are on a landslide. This is not according to international risk standards, and there are issues there that have to be dealt with.
Yeah, thank you, Hugo.